Well, hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are right now. Welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. Today's topic is going to be a very interesting and important one for a lot of you out there. We are looking at getting cloud costs under control, tools and tips. Now, my name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I am very happy to be here with you all today to take part in this absolutely fascinating conversation because there is a lot to think about when it comes to reducing those cloud costs. Some of you out there may have experienced that unexpectedly large invoice, or maybe actually that's the concern that's been stopping you from expanding your cloud environments. So today we're going to work through those fears, those roadblocks, with the help of some awesome experts from Synology and from Informatica. We're going to talk about the solutions and services that can help your organization get those cloud costs under control. We're going to look at some of those common causes for those infamous jumps and egress fees and identify some of the other unexpected expenses that you may or may not have on your radar. But best of all, we will be delving into the strategies and the tools that will help your organization limit those costs without, and this is the big stuff, without limiting your cloud environment, your infrastructure. So before I bring out our innovative speakers from Synology, from Informatica, I'm going to run through a few of the tools that are going to help you get the most out of your day today. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is the questions window on your webinar control panel. If you haven't already seen that chat happening, there's a lot of wonderful highs and hellos and good mornings, good afternoons out there. So please do reach out, give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. We love seeing all of you connecting around the world, so please keep that up. Now, that chat window is also a great place to reach out to the Actual Tech Media crew if you do have any tech issues during the EcoCast today. I do want to remind you that a browser refresh is going to get rid of any of the usual tech issues, but if not, let us know in that chat window there and we will be there to help. Now, the last piece of that questions interaction there is, you guessed it, to ask questions. We want this to be an informative webinar, so we want to get all of your technical questions, no matter how big or how small. Throughout today's EcoCast, we really want to see that engagement from all of you. We want you to participate in the discussion, so send in comments, you can send in questions, you can put in tips, discussion points, whatever's on your mind. We're going to have team members responding to you during the live webinar over live chat. We will also have live Q&A discussions with our experts after each one of our presentations. And if we do not get to your question, either over live chat or in that live discussion at the end of the presentation, the wonderful humans from Synology and Informatica will be following up with you after we wrap. We do make sure that they get all the questions asked. So everyone who sends in a question today is going to get an answer back, so be sure to get those in. All right, I have two more things I'm going to point out before we move on from your webinar console. The first thing is that Twitter button. So you're going to hear all kinds of cool things today, lots of interesting little factoids. And when you have one of those cool little brain-tingling moments, that's a great thing to share with your friends. So use that Twitter button right there in your audience console. The hashtag for today's webinar is going to be automatically added to your post. And the very last thing that I want to point out is actually that handouts tab. So if you haven't already clicked into it, click in now. Make sure that you get those resources before you take off today. There's some really incredible takeaways from both of our speakers, plus lots of fascinating reading. There's some invites to upcoming webinar events, so lots of great stuff in there. Be sure to click in, explore, and save those resources for later. All right, now I mentioned right at the top there, my name is Jess Steinbach. There I am up on the screen, along with my two wonderful friends, Scott Becker and David Davis, who are hanging out with us on live chat today. We are all very excited to be moderating this particular discussion because, we hear about reducing cloud costs a lot. You ask about that a lot. And I know that today we're going to be able to dig into some real hard answers. So that's an exciting thing for all of us. All right, now I mentioned that we have some prizes. You saw that little icon on the audience console a little bit earlier. So let's chat about that. We have 3 $500 Amazon gift cards that we will be giving away to 3 lucky winners here, present and live with us at the EcoCast. If you're wondering about meeting the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions, there is a full list of those T's and C's in the handouts tab for you. You just need to click in, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. All right, so when we were chatting about those technical questions a little bit earlier, we have a bit of an extra incentive besides just being awesome and inquisitive and bringing up the whole level of energy and engagement and discussion throughout our day today. You also have the opportunity to qualify for a $50 Amazon gift card. Now, we're going to give that away to the best question asked in each of our sessions. So that means if you ask a question during our session today, even if we don't get to it live, we'll be reviewing them afterwards, and we will send that $50 gift card to that best question asked. So make sure that you're getting those in. Hi, Tyler, and good morning. I just saw a wonderful good morning coming in. I love that. It's so nice to see some returning names. I wish I could see all your smiling faces, but I'm assuming you're smiling back at me right now. All right, I've got a few reminders up on the screen for you there, including the fact that all prize winners must submit an IRS Form W-9, so please do get those in to us. I've mentioned this before, and I hope you guys don't glaze over when you see some of these repeating slides a little bit, because this is a really cool opportunity. So if you do win a prize with us and you would like to donate the value of that prize to one of the organizations that you see up on the screen, this is a really wonderful way to give back a little bit to the larger global community that we're all a part of. So please do consider that. If that's something you're interested in and you are a winner here today, let us know, and we will help make that happen. Okay, well, speaking of awesome humans out there, we want to keep connecting with you. We want to keep chatting with you, so be sure to find Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on Facebook. We always want to hear from you. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube, please do find the Actual Tech Media channel and subscribe and start exploring some of those webinars. It's just an incredible array of topics and interesting things to explore there. So go check out that YouTube channel. Also find us on LinkedIn. Lots of great content for you there. And speaking of great content, I know we have a couple of fans out there in the audience today, the Gorilla Guide Book Club. Again, I've said this a couple times this week. If you are updating your 2023 reading list, if one of your resolutions was to read a little bit more or educate yourself a little bit more, stay a little bit more on top of trends, this is a great way to do that. Things change fast, and we have all this information right here in one place for you. So you get access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts. They're going to work on your Kindle, they'll work on your mobile device, and best of all, they are completely free. So go check out gorilla.guide. There's a link for you in the handouts tab as well. All right, one last exciting way to win a prize here today, and hey, spreading the goodwill and good vibes into your community. We have a Refer a Friend program. Now, the most important thing to know about this Refer a Friend program is I really want to emphasize this, that we're not going to spam your friends. So what happens is if you click on the link, there's a link in your handout tab. You're also going to get redirected at the end of the webinar. You'll see a little page that gives you the option to send out an invite. We will send one email with some upcoming webinars to your colleagues, your friends, your coworkers, and tell them, hey, this is what's on the radar. If they don't respond to that, we just give them one more little reminder, and then that's it. We will leave them alone. We promise that you're not signing your friends and family up to get bombarded by messages from Actual Tech Media. So please do take advantage of that. Both you and your coworker could then win a $300 Amazon gift card. We hold those drawings every month, so lots of chances to win. Think of somebody awesome and sign them up to come join us here. All right, well, speaking of somebody awesome, that's a fantastic segue that I did not plan into our keynote here. We are going to be chatting with senior resultant and all-around awesome human, Howard M. Cohen. Now, I know a lot of you recognize that face, that name, and have heard Howard speak before. So you already know that we are in for an incredible and informative discussion. Plus, I have to say, always just a lot of fun. So Howard, with all of that said, it is definitely a pleasure when we get to have you on for a keynote. I can't wait to hear what you have in store for us today. So I will step back and hand the mic right on over to you. Take it away, Howard.
Hello and welcome to Getting Cloud Costs Under Control. I'm Howard M. Cohen, and we'll be talking about how they get out of control and what you can do about it. As with any presentation I do, I like to start with a word of the day. Today's word is surprise. Doesn't look like a very happy surprise. Here's how it happens. A cloud user, very typically, requests the resources they need to get their work done. They go about doing their work, and then they return the resources to the pool so other people can share them, or they release the resources, if you wish. And that's the way it's supposed to work. And then periodically, their company gets an invoice. The company anticipates that the invoice will be a moderate rate that they're used to paying, but sometimes, just sometimes, It's a whopping big invoice, like tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars too much. Well, why'd that happen? Users neglected to return their resources. See, it's a pay-as-you-go model, but you start going as soon as you request a resource, and you stop when you return that resource. If you don't return it, you keep paying for it. And so that's what creates the nasty surprise, and it can be a career-changing surprise for some people. Companies, in response, tend to forbid or limit access to cloud services. They make you go through hoops to get at the cloud services you need. This inhibits innovation, reduces productivity, and it's not what we want to have happen. So how do we keep that from happening? Well, first we have to determine how it is cloud costs get out of control in the first place. Right at the beginning, oversubscribing is the first cause of excessive cost in the cloud. People use the same logic that they did when they bought a hard drive many years ago to buy cloud storage. When you bought a hard drive, you figured, okay, I'm going to need how much for the next 5 years? So let's say it's 5 terabytes, and you bought it. Now, when you start, you're using less than a terabyte, so the rest of it is wasted. You're not using it, though you're paying for it. With the cloud, you don't have to do that. With the cloud, you can start with a half terabyte, and when you need more, throttle up, get more. When you need 5 terabytes, throttle to 5 terabytes. You may go the other way. So oversubscribing, you don't need to do it anymore, so don't do it. Similarly, cloud sprawl. Somebody gets a great idea, and somebody next to them says, oh, hey, let's spin up a server and try that out. And of course, they spin up a virtual machine and start paying for it. And they finish their little experiment, and then they move on. And that virtual machine just sits there, again, creating cost until somebody notices it and stops it. Over time, with more good ideas happening and more people spinning up more virtual machines, you get an environment that looks quite a lot like this slide we're looking at right now, all those clouds all over the place. Well, turn those little locks on each cloud into a dollar sign. You'll get the idea immediately that they're all costing money, and none of them are doing anything bad. Shadow IT is still a problem. Many departmental managers get tired of waiting for the IT department to deliver what they need. So they go off and they subscribe to their own cloud services. Unfortunately, you eventually see those on the network. You don't know what they came from or what they're doing, but you're paying for them. The only solution is to get those departmental managers to work in closer collaboration with you, and good luck with that. Finally, zombie assets. This is when somebody leaves a virtual machine running or leaves some other resources running. They're not using them anymore, but they still walk the earth. They're still alive, and they're not doing anything. They're just encumbering more cost. So we need to go and we need to put these zombies to their final rest and get them released back to the pool. So how do we solve all these problems? First and foremost is policy, developing policy, because people are not like digital devices. They don't just obey orders blindly. People need to be taught, trained. They need to be encouraged. They need to be reminded. And so they need to have a policy to focus on that will help them know exactly what the right thing to do is. So first and foremost, get yourself a cloud-based governance platform, actually not tools, but a platform that allows you to create your policies and distribute them, publish them, make them available to all of your users who then confirm that they've read them. Track all of your cloud usage, track all of your costs. It's in policy, got to do it. And also use chargebacks to assign each of those costs to a given department and even project, even down to the user level if you can. When you find your frequent flyers, you'll find your biggest cost overruns. Then set thresholds. Use automation to set thresholds so that the system sees VMs that are sitting out there too long, or resources that are not being used and they're still collecting cost. As soon as those alerts alert the administrators, they can take action to solve those, and that too will reduce costs significantly. On a regular basis, go out and remove unused and underutilized resources. Go hunting for them so that anything the automation didn't catch or didn't get caught by the users, you catch. And when you configure instances, size them so that you get a balance between the performance you're looking for and the cost. If you can keep those balanced, then you're getting the most cost-effective compute environment possible. And finally, automate, automate, automate. Automate as many of your policies as possible. The more automation, the more likely it is you'll catch things, and that's the most important part. From a procurement standpoint, consider multi-cloud. Multi-cloud gives you choice. One of the big cloud providers, they're called hyperscalers, one of them may have the same configuration as another at a lower cost. You should switch to that. One of them may have the same service as the other two, but it does more of what you want it to do. By the way, you can have the same service name on all of them and other clouds, and it may mean widely different services. So you've got to be sure you interrogate the definition of the service as well as the name. Think about including a financial manager along with your technology managers on your cloud management team. This is somebody who will keep track of all the cost changes, all the special deals that are out there. They can go shopping on a regular basis for special promotions and price changes. Visibility is key. You've got to be able to see everything, because if you can't see it, you can't manage it. These days, some companies are accepting that they have no visibility, which is great until somebody gets fired. Then all of a sudden, not so good. A third of companies are relying on the information from the cloud providers, which I don't know that it's always trustworthy. I don't know that it's always accurate. 35%, another third, manually put the information into a spreadsheet and work from that. That's time-intensive, work-intensive, and very error-prone. The best way, 19% of people are at this point now, they're using third-party tools, or even better yet, third-party integrated platforms that bring everything together so you can see it all in context, compare and contrast. That's the way you want to go when managing and controlling. So that's what you've got to be able to see. And by the way, speaking of management and control, find a platform that covers all of your clouds, not just the consoles you get from the cloud providers. When you have one platform to rule them all, you can see them all in context. You can compare and contrast how they're doing and determine what's best for you. Finally, some very quick key takeaways. Depending on the complexity of your environment, selecting cloud services is going to be a larger process than you think. Be ready for that. It's not enough to know that a particular cloud has a particular service. You have to know the definition of that service and make sure it's what you think it is. Different clouds also give you different virtual server configurations, and they charge less for those, the standard configurations. See if one gets close to what you need. They also offer different operating system choices, different databases, different productivity tools, different provider tools, different developer tools. Pick the one that works best for you. Remember, the cost and capacities are constantly changing. Every cloud is constantly trying to improve. So you've got to keep track of everything. And yes, that's not easy. Thank you.
Howard, I love that, leaving us on a I feel like that was uplifting. It's not easy, folks. That's the key takeaway from Howard. Luckily, Howard has just given us a bunch of information, and thank you so much for that. And now we're going to get some follow-ups from some companies that are going to help us find ways to maybe, if not make it easy, at least make it possible. Yeah, what a great way to start that out. Thank you to everyone who's already sending in some questions. I'm going to ask you to take a look at the screen. and answer the poll that we've got up for you. What we're wondering here is, what is your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company? So obviously in this case, we're talking about cloud and reducing cloud costs and some of the things that you can do to avoid that. So if you're thinking about making some changes, when do you need this? When would you want this to take effect? Are you thinking immediately, 0 to 6 months, maybe more like 6 months to a year, or beyond that? What I'm seeing so far is there's a pretty big chunk of you are in the not sure, which, like, fair enough. If you aren't really sure what it's going to take to reduce your cloud cost, then it's hard to know exactly when you need to implement them. So luckily, we will get some answers to that today. I'm leaving that poll up for just another second here. If you want to click on it, if you haven't already, last chance. Okay, let's move it right along in our EcoCast, because it is definitely time to get started. So we are going to be chatting with an incredible expert here with us from Synology, Ed Spinu, Technical Account Manager at Synology. Ed, thank you so much for being here to kick off the EcoCast. I know that you have a ton of great information to cover. We're going to do a little bit of Q&A at the end, so I want to make sure we leave time for that. So I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you. Take it away, Ed.
Hello everyone, my name is Ed, and I'm a Technical Account Manager with Synology. Today I'll be covering how Synology can help you manage and keep cloud costs under control. Specifically, we'll be focusing on effective management of data generated by various SaaS cloud services, including Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. First, let's look at some recent trends in the cloud data space. The pandemic created a fully digital global workforce overnight. In Microsoft's own productivity data, we've seen just how much the pandemic has accelerated that change, driving a nearly 400% increase in Microsoft Teams usage among workers from March of 2020 to November of 2021. Additionally, 57% of organizations completed a SharePoint or Microsoft 365 migration in 2020, and 84% of that group said their migration project either proceeded on schedule or was accelerated. Moreover, 93% of IT professionals said COVID-19 pushed prior modernization plans ahead of schedule, with 45% of them naming Microsoft 365 as their top motivator and driver. As a result, there's an ever-growing amount of user data currently living on the cloud due to the recent data migration trend to cloud productivity suites. That said, more critical data now lives in the cloud. This data takes the form of employer student records, email and chat messages, team files and folders, and contacts and calendars. For reference, in 2021, cloud-based migration operations soared by over 50%. This brings us to a key challenge and pain point that organizations have been faced with. So what is that challenge? Simply put, it's effectively protecting and archiving data generated in these cloud services while also keeping cloud costs under control. Now let's move into some best practices and the organizational responsibility as it relates to data retention and data backup. The recent influx of new data living on the cloud has created a crucial responsibility for organizations to both manage and protect this new data. That said, the responsibility to protect user identities as well as user data falls exclusively on the customer, not on the cloud provider. For all cloud deployment types, companies own their data and identities. Additionally, organizations are responsible for protecting the security of their data and the cloud component types they control. Regardless of the type of deployment, the following responsibilities are always retained by the customer: information and data, endpoint devices, and accounts and identities. Now let's look at some best practices and recommendations. Microsoft actually recommends that you regularly back up your cloud data. But why? Well, oftentimes data needs to be retained for a period longer than Microsoft's standard retention. In an active subscription, data for both licensed and unlicensed users is retained by Microsoft for a standard of 30 days. And in the case that a paid subscription ends or is terminated, Microsoft retains that customer data for only 90 days before deletion. Now let's look at a few long-term cost savings implications. So why should we back up our cloud data? And how does an effective backup solution correlate to cost savings? First, costs associated for malicious or accidental deletion can be innumerable. These costs can take the form of regulatory compliance fines, as well as direct loss of revenue stemming from the loss of key data. Second, It is quite expensive to host live data on the cloud. Archiving data via a third-party solution directly cuts costs associated with cloud utilization fees. A large sum of important data may no longer need to be accessed frequently, but would still need to be retained. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into long-term data archival and the approach that Treadu Vocational College took to cut costs via effective data management. Treadu Vocational College is a college based in Tampere, the second largest city in Finland. They were live hosting the data of tens of thousands of both active and inactive users, containing over 60,000 email accounts, 30,000 OneDrive accounts, and 10,000 SharePoint sites. As an educational institution, Treadu has the legal obligation to retain the data of current students and faculty, as well as for former students. As you can imagine, monthly fees were quickly building up, so Treadu began exploring a solution. After a trial with Synology, Treadu deployed an SA3600 unit. Their current backup occupied 15 terabytes of storage. However, as Treadu's data needed to grow, the team was acutely aware that the solution also had to offer scalability. This was an obstacle that the SA3600 could readily handle, with 12 existing bays in the base unit and the facility to scale up to 180 drives with the use of Synology expansion units. In addition, the native backup tool they used, Active Backup for Microsoft 365, comes with deduplication in place, which cut down the backup by 7 terabytes in the first run, achieving 46% savings on storage media. Eventually, it was clear that Synology could not only resolve the issues of data storage, but also offer backup for Microsoft services with no license costs. Having the storage hardware and backup as an integrated solution brought further reassurance to the team that was managing the task. Through Active Backup for Microsoft 365, Synology offered a license-free comprehensive protection and backup for Teams, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and Exchange Online, all while offering a full integration with Azure's Active Directory. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the actual backup process and task creation. Now let's look at just how simple the process is for creating a local backup of our Microsoft 365 data. First, let's begin by opening the Package Center and downloading the application Active Backup for Microsoft 365. Once installed and opened, we're brought to the Management panel. As you can see, users' OneDrive, mail inboxes, SharePoint sites, contacts, calendar, as well as Teams data are all able to be backed up. The Overview panel also includes a backup summary, key log information, as well as the data usage statistics for each protected service. The next tab brings us to the associated task list, as well as the task creation wizard. While clicking the Create button, we're prompted to connect to our Microsoft 365 endpoint and set a corresponding backup task. For time purposes today, I'll be utilizing a previously connected task and exploring a few key features. Let's go ahead and look at the Sales M365 task that I previously created. Once connected to our Microsoft 365 endpoint, we have a few options that we can set. Let's go ahead and look at the User tab. The User tab populates the list of both licensed as well as unlicensed users associated with Azure's Active Directory, allowing us to navigate between the protected services of each user, including OneDrive, Mail, Contacts, and Calendar. Even post-task creation, we're able to update the user list accordingly, as well as the protected services we'd like to back up for each user. The Group tab allows us to set group policies also associated with the groups in Azure's Active Directory. Additionally, we have the ability to back up both shared SharePoint sites as well as personal SharePoint sites, in addition to Teams, channel, and chat data. The Auto Discovery service is another great feature. Auto Discovery allows for new incoming data, including new sites, teams, and the specified user services such as OneDrive and Mail that can automatically be designated for backups. Additionally, we have the ability to automatically back up user accounts when they are created or changed between licensed or unlicensed statuses. The last tab allows us to set our backup schedule as well as retention policy. As you can see, we're able to select between a continuous, manual, or scheduled backup policy. The scheduled backup policy allows for the greatest degree of flexibility associated with how we want our backups to be conducted, allowing us to run a backup task as granularly as every hour of each specific day. Lastly, we're brought to the retention policy and retention settings. We have the ability to set a select number of days we'd like our backup data to be retained for, even allowing us the option to permanently retain all versions. That brings us to the conclusion of the task creation process, as well as the post-task creation options we're able to set. As you saw in the task creation process, we're able to select between unlicensed and licensed accounts, specifying which services are being backed up for each. Now let's take a look at Trado's backup and recovery plan. First, both current and former user accounts were designated for backup, specifying the respective individual and group policy settings within the task creation wizard. Next, once user data was successfully backed up, Trado was able to remove Microsoft subscription licenses for their former accounts, greatly cutting down their cloud utilization fees. Lastly, in the case they need to reactivate a former account, let's say a student returned to school, they were easily able to directly restore that data as needed, utilizing active backup from Microsoft 365. Now that our backup task is created within the management console, let's explore restoration and recovery of your data via the active backup from Microsoft 365 portal. Now let's explore some restore and recovery options via the active backup from Microsoft 365 recovery portal. The recovery portal is automatically installed when we downloaded active backup from Microsoft 365 within Package Center. It's just called active backup from Microsoft 365 portal. Let's go ahead and open that. Once connected to the portal, we have multiple different filter options. First, we have the ability to filter between each active or inactive user whose data was designated for backup when we created our backup task. Next, we have the opportunity to filter between multiple different tasks, assuming we had different tasks on different backup schedules for different users. Additionally, I have the opportunity to filter between various restore points corresponding to our backup schedule and retention policy via the timeline or the calendar at the bottom. Lastly, I have the ability to filter between each user service that we specify for backup for any of the given users associated with our task. Currently, we're connected to the Sales M365 task, and we're in John's mailbox, but we could also explore his OneDrive, contacts, and calendar, assuming we designated those for backup. So let's get to the actual restore process. How do we restore, let's say, John's inbox? Well, since we're currently connected to John's inbox, we have the opportunity to either restore his entire inbox or just individual messages in that inbox. So let's say we wanted to restore these two messages. We have the opportunity to either restore those files directly to John's inbox, either specifying a new folder or an original folder for that destination. Or let's say John were an unlicensed user. We'd have the opportunity to restore John's inbox to any active user's inbox. So let's say Cody's. And we can specify Cody's inbox as a destination for that restore. Additionally, we also have the opportunity to export and download files locally to our PC workstation. We have the same option to either export the entire inbox or just individual messages. Let's say I wanted to export this message. I'd go ahead, click export, specify the message, and then specify the file format. And now we're brought to the restore and export history. As you can see, just now, that one message was successfully exported and is available for download locally. So now that we covered the ability to restore mailboxes, I want to show how it's the same convenient process for restoring some of the other services as well, including users' OneDrive, contacts, and calendar. Let's go to John's OneDrive. We have the same restore and export options for each of the individual files and folders connected to John's OneDrive. Let's go to calendar. As you can see, it's the same intuitive process for restoring any of the calendar items. Same for contacts. Lastly, for SharePoint sites, I wanted to show you how we have the ability to either filter between shared SharePoint sites as well as team sites. So currently we're on the shared SharePoint sites, but if I go over here, I'm able to specify personal sites as well, associated with the given tasks. As you can see, Synology's active backup from Microsoft 365 makes it super easy to effectively manage and archive your hosted data via a simple and intuitive process. Now that we covered the restoration process, I'd like to summarize some of the key benefits Trader Vocational College took advantage of through utilizing Synology's Active Backup from Microsoft 365. They were able to greatly reduce their cloud utilization fees, simplify their onboarding and exiting process, maintain compliance, all while implementing a more robust backup plan for both their former and current users. Synology's Active Backup Suite is a license-free backup solution that has helped organizations across all industries protect their cloud data efficiently while keeping SaaS subscription fees under control. This comes to play even more when we start to increase the number of user accounts that are being backed up. Additionally, as demonstrated, flexible retention and recovery options under a unified portal provides a seamless user experience. Let's look at one more example of how Corin, an orthopedic implant manufacturer based in Australia, utilized Synology's Active Backup to cut costs and simplify their data management experience. Before adopting Synology's solution, Corin Australia had a hard time obtaining cost-effective on-site storage for data archiving. They needed an archiving solution to store cold data that wasn't cost-prohibitive or had recurring fees. Additionally, they were also looking for alternative software solutions to back up their offsite data, particularly their Microsoft 365 deployment. With over 2,400 mailboxes, licensing fees added up quickly and became a heavy financial burden for the company. After comparing different backup solutions, Corin selected Synology for reliability, cost-effectiveness, feature expandability, and ease of use. Synology's solution not only serves as their main storage server, but also backs up Corin's entire Microsoft deployment without additional licensing fees. Over 2,400 of Corin's user accounts are protected by Synology's Active Backup solution. Critical business data on Microsoft OneDrive, Outlook, SharePoint Online, as well as address books and calendars are all safely backed up onto their Synology solution on a daily basis. Corin's IT team is able to quickly monitor all tasks and statuses through the centralized dashboard interface. Lastly, Active Backup's account discovery feature reduces the need to set up new tasks for each new employee. As Alan DeBrinket from Corin puts it, Active Backup not only keeps 2,400 inboxes safe, but it saves us over $60,000 annually. In conclusion, Synology has helped hundreds of organizations and universities cut costs by effectively backing up and archiving key data. Now I'd like to open the floor up for some questions.
Definitely. Love that. Thank you so much, Ed, for that awesome presentation. Walking us through some use cases and examples is always such a great way to get to know any solution. And of course, the demos, we got some high fives for that and people really appreciating getting to see that in action. So thank you to you and John for letting us explore that together. We got a lot of great questions that we're going to jump into in just a second here. But first, I want to point out that there is a poll up on the screen for you here. And what we're looking for is what additional information you would like to get about the Synology solution. So, you know, I've said this and you've heard me say this before. You're not going to remember everything you heard today. You just won't, unless you're lucky enough to have an eidetic memory, in which case, that's great. But for those of us who don't have that superpower, we need these follow-ups. And I really, really, really have to suggest that you click on the poll. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Normally, I kind of talk about the handouts towards the end, but I'm going to remind you twice about this particular handout from Synology because it's actually kind of like a little nesting egg of, or nesting doll of handouts. There's the one handout, and then there's all these incredible links that they've curated specifically for all of you out there today, specifically for this audience. So there's links to case studies, to blogs, to YouTube videos. There's a bunch of additional reading in there. I mean, it's just basically a whole curated reading list of resources in that handout. So click on the poll, click on the handout, and while you're doing all of that, Ed and I are going to jump into some questions. Ed, sorry for that little diatribe there. I got really excited about your handout. You ready to do some questions?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so first up here, I think this is a great place to start. Ed, what methods are available to back up a PC server? And can you talk a little bit about restoring and, as a follow-up, are they going to be able to keep any versions?
Yeah, so generally there are two options to for backing up a Windows or PC server, either via full backup, where you can back up all the system settings as well as system files. So if you lose the entire system, you'd be able to restore to a new system. or the file level backup that keeps that same folder and file structure. So, but there wouldn't be a full restore in that case.
Okay. All right. Scanning through our list here. We got a lot of great questions. You guys are really rocking this. Keep those questions coming. What is kind of your rule of thumb? What's your standard rule for the amount of storage required for each device?
Yeah, so it's generally going to depend on the deployment in the environment. So that's the main sort of factor. So there are mostly devices that are, so are these mostly devices that are working off network shares are they working on their own, or they're also storing databases or other work-related files that need to be backed up? And will those files need to be modified or added to in the future? So you can reasonably deduct any empty space on most of the workstations.
Okay, I like that. How about, can this ABB back up Teams as well? That's a big question for a lot of folks out there.
Yeah, so we can definitely back up Teams, and it can protect the data stored in OneDrive for Business as well as SharePoint Online. So yeah, Teams general data can absolutely be backed up.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I know I've seen that from a few people. So, and actually a few questions coming in about Microsoft 365. So which Microsoft 365 plans does ABB work with?
Yes, it's going to work with either business, enterprise, education, and as well as Exchange Online.
Oh, great. So just everything is the yes is the answer. Okay,
yep,
let's look at this question here. Oh, this is a good one. Are there any performance issues with backups, assuming that they run client side rather than server side?
Yeah, so generally if you have less than 500 users, you're probably good to go. But if there's more users in that case, give us a call, and we can talk about it and sort of examine that and further get into that and for a consult.
Yeah, that's a good, we do have a pretty wide variety of sizes of organizations out there, so kind of good to know where that line is. Okay, if I delete a backup task for a user, does it delete that user's backup data? Good question.
Yeah, so no, it will not be deleted except through the retention policy that was already in place. So that's kind of the limiting factor. Yep.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, if you don't want that, you have a little bit of control there too in terms of what you're setting. Okay, how are snapshots preventing backup data from becoming encrypted?
So snapshots actually let you roll back your backup to a day before it was encrypted, let's say. So let's say the data becomes encrypted. Via those snapshots, you can roll that backup data, roll it to a backup before that encryption actually happens.
Oh, awesome. Okay, that's very handy. Man, we have been cruising through these. You've got your answers just locked and loaded here, which is great. We're going to get a little close to the end of time here, but I'm going to sneak in one last question. And I do want to remind everyone out there that I know there's a lot of questions that we're not going to get to. Please do keep them coming in. We are going to make sure that the Synology team gets a chance to answer them all either over live chat today or following up via email. So keep those questions coming. Let's end on this one here. What methods are available for restoring data and LUN or LUM backed up?
Yeah, so snapshot replication allows for quick, efficient backups of any data in the LUN state, as well as the snapshots allow for space-efficient and simple restore point-in-time snapshots. So while snapshot replication requires that your file system is formatted as BTRFS for shared folders in snapshots and replications, snapshot replication can actually work with advanced file level LUNs regardless of whether the underlying file system is, for example, ext4 or BTRFS.
Perfect. Okay, well, another great succinct answer there, Ed. I appreciate that. Last thing that I want to ask you before you run away is if somebody out there has really gotten excited about Synology, again, I'm seeing lots of great questions coming in, and they're really looking to get started or at least see if it's a good fit for them. What would you recommend as a first step for reaching out to your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're in this case, you can either reach out to me directly, via my email address. I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone. There's also a main line you can dial in, and someone will route you to the appropriate sort of technical account manager that covers that territory. And we'd be more than happy to have a conversation with anyone interested.
Fantastic. Okay, well, Ed, thank you again for a great presentation, a really interesting demo, and a really fun Q&A. I think we got to a lot of answers out there. And again, a reminder that you will hear back from the Synology team if we didn't get to your question. Ed, thanks again for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, and I'm going to remind all of you out there, first and foremost, that poll is still up on your screen here. And if you haven't clicked into the Handouts tab, please do that now. Incredible curated link of resources for you there. So click in, get that resource, download that, open all those tabs, whatever you want to do, but save that for later. I promise you that those are going to come in handy. A reminder that we will get back to you to your questions. We'll make sure you get some answers back. Please keep those coming in. And while you're filling out that poll and clicking on that handout, I'm going to go ahead and give away our very first prize of the day. So I do need to remind you one last time that you do need to be here present live at the EcoCast in order to win. So our very first winner of a $500 Amazon gift card today is Joe Schaefer of Minnesota. I love the Midwestern crew. All right, Minnesota. Joe Schaefer of Minnesota, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. I'm originally from Minnesota, so I'm allowed to do that accent. And we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap up our webinar today. Don't forget there are still 2 more chances to win a prize plus that best question gift card from each session. So if you asked a question, you're already qualified. Keep those questions coming. But speaking of excitement and awesomeness, oh, look at that. We've got some more awesome in the wing here. I am so excited to introduce you all to our final, I know, expert speaker on the EcoCast today. But don't worry, this is definitely going to be a grand finale. We're going to be chatting with Sumit Agrawal, VP Product Management at Informatica. He is here with us today. Sumit, thank you so much for being our grand finale, for bringing us home in style. I am very much looking forward to hearing a little bit more from you, from Informatica. So the platform is all yours. Take it away.
Thank you, EcoCast Media, for inviting me for this webinar. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sumit Agrawal. I'm a Vice President of Product Management here at Informatica. Today, we're going to talk about how you can optimize, govern, and control cloud cost with FinOps-powered cloud data management. All right. So we all are in some kind of cloud journey. I'm sure all of you have seen this in your respective organizations. We all are encountering cost overruns. In fact, analysts are predicting over 75% of organizations will encounter this kind of cost overrun issues when they initiate cloud data management journey. There are multiple questions customers are asking us. How they lack visibility and control over various cost components on cloud. They lack active cost governance, and they also lack efficient and fully optimized solution. In fact, most of the data management platform today requires an army of developers, and they do not provide financial governance, and they offer a very pointed, simple data management solutions. And if you look at all the factors that makes cloud attractive, it also have a down effect of providing potential cost overruns. So if you don't use them properly, all these factors because of which you moved into cloud, they all will contribute in your cloud cost overrun. For example, you may be using cloud for your new financial models or your cultural shift, or you'll be doing it for rapid provisioning or for elasticity or scalability. In all these factors, which are all valid factors to use cloud, but if you don't use them properly, it will contribute to your cost overruns. And when we look at the different aspects of cloud data management, we all think about that where the cost is coming from. Like most of the customers think that the cost is only on the software cost and then the infrastructure cost. But there are a lot of other cost component on cloud. You have to be aware of it. There is a storage cost, which you pay to a cloud provider or a data warehouse provider. There is also a data transfer cost. So if you move data into a data warehouse or move data out of data warehouse, and same thing on a cloud provider side, you incur cost. You incur cost on the development side, which you give it to an integration platform provider. You have to find toolings, licensing, support cost. And on top of that, you also have operational and DevOps costs. So these are the different cost components which you have to keep in mind when you pick any cloud data management solution. And also look at that who are you paying to. So doing a cloud data management on cloud is not just paying for software and infrastructure. There is all these kind of costs which are involved as well. That's why it is super important for all of us to govern on cost because of all the different aspects which I have shown in the previous slide, which you are paying in a different component. It is very important for you to choose a platform that solves all your need instead of picking up a fragmented point solution. And you also have to pick a tool which provides you a FinOps principle in your entire software development lifecycle. Now let's go back and look at our cloud data warehouse and data lake reference architecture. So most of you, I'm sure this picture will look familiar, or you will have a version of this picture. We have seen customers are implementing multiple patterns of cloud data lake and data warehouse. I mean, the first step here is cataloging your data set. Then you look at ingestion into your lake, where your data can be stored in on-prem, it could be on SaaS or on a streaming device. We've seen customers first in mass ingest those data into a lake, then they build multiple zones within your lake, whether you call it landing zone, refinement zone, enterprise zone, I mean, you name it. I mean, you are pretty much creating a data lake solution here. And then from here, you move data into your data warehouse. And then from there, you go and do your business, solve your business problems, whether it's using data science or real-time analytics or BI. That's pretty much the reference architecture which we see most of the customers are building on a cloud. And in all these steps, you have to think about how you govern your cost. Now let's look at how at Informatica can help you to optimize your cost. So I'll give you 3 examples by which we can help you to govern your costs. So the main philosophy we have used at Informatica is that for every products we are developing here, we are keeping cost in mind, or FinOps, or cost to performance in mind. So the example I'm going to give you is our recent service which we recently launched on cloud. It's called Advanced Data Integration. And this service is particularly designed to provide cost to performance optimization. So our idea is that most of the customers are building their data integrations, and some of the data integration can run on a distributed processing like engine, like Spark. Some can be better suited for pushing it down to a data warehouse like Snowflake or Redshift. Or it can also, if the data is small, it can also run on their own ETL in an ETL way, right, on a secure agent processing. So what we have done is that instead of our customer picking and choosing which engine is best to run based on the cost and performance, what we have done is that we have built this product from this whole idea of building this clear powered FinOps layer by which we can pick the best engine and the other components, like what kind of other parameters along according to the cost to performance expectation. And it is totally driven by your priorities you are giving on your job, your SLAs, and how much concurrency you are building, and all of that factors we are actually baked in to pick the best engine for you. So it is using some AI ML engine to pick the right engine for you based on your cost to performance optimization. So this is a groundbreaking innovation we have done, and I think we are the only data management vendor to have something like this, where we can provide this intelligence layer which is powered by our Eclair engine, which can pick the best engine based on your use case, based on cost and performance, and using some AI in the mix. And we do that. We also provide you, along with that, we also provide you this 250 plus purpose-built connectors, which can also help you to accelerate your development on cloud. The other example I'm going to give you on the cost especially on the FinOps side, is our capability, which is called advanced push-down optimization. So like I said in the previous slide, that there are some use cases which can be better suited for pushing down into Snowflake or Databricks or Google or AWS. So what we have done is that we have actually built our engine, which can do ELT, and that engine can help you to not only give you the best performance, but it can also help you to optimize your cost. And the cost which it is optimizing are all the hidden costs which you are not even aware. For example, a data transfer cost or development cost or DevOps cost. All these costs are kind of taken into consideration when we have built this advanced pushdown optimization. And this runs on all of our ecosystem. It's a simple drag and drop feature in a product. And as I said in my previous slide, that if our Claire engine picks this engine, we will help you to make sure that this engine can also give you the better cost to performance aspect. So what I'm going to do is that I'm also going to share you some use cases of this pushdown optimization engine, and also going to give you some performance and cost results on what we see our customers are achieving with this engine. So the first use case, I call it an ecosystem pushdown. The reason we call it an ecosystem pushdown is that here your data and target, your source and target may not be the same, right? So in this case here, what we have done is your data lake is on Azure and data warehouse can be on Azure, but you are kind of doing a push down to from your data warehouse directly, even though your data is on data lake. So what we do in the traditional world, before cloud, the only way for you to push down any logic into a database or a data warehouse is when you have a source and target same, like when you are using Oracle to Oracle. But what the kind of innovation we have done at Informatica is that even though if your source and targets are different, for example, S3 and Redshift, what we will do is that we will use some internal data warehouse statements to push down that logic directly into the warehouse. So because of which you will save all those hidden costs I told you in my previous slide, and then you can also get the power of our which is the Redshift engine here. So just to give you an example of what kind of performance you will see with this engine here, if we just do a push down versus if we have not done the push down, you can see the numbers here. Like there are some jobs, like just a simple job with S3 to Redshift. The job which used to run for 3 hours is now running in just 18 minutes or so. So over 20 times faster compared to the traditional ETL, because we are using the cloud compute. And along with that, do not forget the cost aspect as well, which we are saving with our cost optimization. And then let's go back and check even the more traditional use case where you have the sources and target as data warehouse and data warehouse, right? So this is where you are pushing down the logic back to the data warehouse, and where you are creating your ODS layer on your data warehouse, and you want to push down everything on data warehouse. And data warehouse here could be Snowflake, it could be BigQuery. Even here, if I just compare the use cases, like what I've done is I've used this Synapse to Synapse use case, and I've also used Snowflake to Snowflake use case. So look at the numbers here. I mean, with all the transformations in the mix, I mean, the mappings which used to take 4 hours are taking less than half an hour in most of the cases. Again, 20 times performance benefit, along with all the cost benefit which you will get, which I've shared you in the beginning, like data transfer cost benefit. So these are all the examples to show you how we have optimized our engine for cost to performance. Now, lastly, I'm going to talk about my next capability, which is called advanced serverless capability. So in this deployment, in this use case, what we have done is we have actually taken the whole concept of serverless and we have applied that on a data management. So which means that you are going to get a fully managed scale-out environment with no cluster and software to manage. And then the only thing you are doing is you are spending your time in building the business logic, and then rest all the other infrastructure stuff is taken care by Informatica. So that means in terms of the cost, you are not managing your infrastructure. You're not really caring about how to scale up and scale down based on seasonal need. You don't need to figure out which instance type you are using. All that intelligence and all that infrastructure management is done by Informatica. And again, all that is offered on the same familiar Informatica designer. So you don't need to worry about changing your business logic. You can just reuse the same interface and the same mappings and the same jobs which you have built. And it's a very easy switch for you to move to advanced serverless, by which you are not even managing any agent or any infrastructure. All that infrastructure management is done by Informatica. And what we provide you is, we will provide you auto scaling, concurrency. We also provide you consumption-based pricing, and then it will exponentially help you on your savings. Just to give you an example of the different return on investment we have seen with serverless, and these are some real case studies we have done with our customers who are using our serverless technology. I mean, whether you are a small to all the way to large workloads, we have seen a triple-digit serverless ROI, and it is a very positive indication to show you that within a year itself, you can see all this ROI of using serverless. So to sum up, what I'm going to tell you is financial governance is very important. And when you look at FinOps principle, do not look at FinOps principle only one layer. I mean, you have to look at FinOps for the entire life cycle of your data management. You need to plan, you need to optimize, you need to operate, monitor, govern, and then you also have to estimate, and if thing doesn't work, you need to repeat that whole circle again. That's what FinOps is all about. And what we do at Informatica is provide you FinOps powered data management in each and every layer of FinOps. So you can see in this picture, like how we help you to optimize, how we help you to operate. I mean, these are all the different features which I have listed in each of these life cycle of FinOps, and how Informatica is helping you to build this. With that, I'm going to give you these resources, so feel free to check these resources where you can learn more about Informatica, and then what we do on FinOps. I mean, there is a white paper here. I'll highly recommend you to check out that white paper and this research paper on our Elastic Cloud Services for data engineering. And if you want to contact me, this is my LinkedIn profile and my Twitter handle. So I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you and answering any questions to you. So with that, I would hand it over to my colleague Vivin Nath, who is going to help you to answer any questions you have on this presentation. So thank you for joining me, and over to you, Vivin.
Yeah, okay. Before we get to some Q&A with you, Vivin, and thank you so much for joining us, I do want to point out that we have, I know there was maybe some folks saying that they weren't able to click on the links that we just had up from Samit. So I've put that link slide back up. So please do take a second now and click on those links if you are looking for that information. I'm going to leave that up for a second, and then I'm going to head on over to that poll. And a reminder that the poll, which I will put up in a moment while we're kind of digging into some questions, is going to be asking you what the additional information is that you would like to get from the team here to kind of follow up on what we just learned. Now, obviously, you know, there's a lot of great information. There's a lot of great information on your screen right now. But again, you know, this is about making your life easy, simplify. So let Informatica send you the information that you need. You don't even have to go digging for it. So click on the links here, click on that poll when we get it up in just a moment, and make sure that you let them know how they can follow up with you. I'm going to throw that poll up right now. So last chance to click on those links if you haven't already. And poll. Okay. All right. Well, Samit, again, thank you so much for that presentation. Vivin, thank you so much for sticking around to do some Q&A. You ready to dive in?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do it. Okay, Vivian, we had a question wondering if you could explain a little bit more. Sumit mentioned AI. Could you talk a little bit more about how Informatica is leveraging AI, especially in FinOps?
Yes, definitely. So, throughout the FinOps lifecycle, we have integrated AI into our offering. For instance, we have AI-powered auto-tuning, auto-scaling, smart cluster management to optimize and control your runtime costs. For instance, in a case of auto-tuner, we know exactly how to tune the Spark parameters, and the Spark parameters needs very sophisticated knowledge. And based on our petabytes of metadata that we have on our cloud platform, we know exactly how to tune the Spark parameters, how many worker nodes to use, the type of worker nodes, the size of nodes. So all that helps you to optimize your cost. I would say another example is FinOps-powered advanced data integration that Sumit covered earlier in the presentation. So here, what happens is under the hood, the advanced data integration uses a AI-based FinOps optimizer. So what it does is delivers the best price to performance based on your job priorities, based on your job SLA. And this optimizer uses, again, historical run data from, a lot of tenants, thousands of our customers, including the metadata information, and along with source and target combination information. And based on that, it identifies which workload to route to what type of engine. So there are different types of engine, whether it's a push down engine like a ELT or a traditional ETL engine or a Spark-based compute. So this optimizer is intelligent enough to dynamically allocate resources for each type of workload and to meet those job SLA at the best price to performance.
Okay, awesome. Well, and best price to performance is certainly what I think we're all here to talk about today. I want to ask a question here from our audience wondering, how easy is it leveraging Informatica to perform the task of the transformation of raw data received from heterogeneous sources?
Yeah, it's very simple, I would say, because Informatica is all about no-code, low-code integration. So we in our palette, in our developer palette or canvas, you can drag and drop pre-built transformations, whether it's joiner, filter, transform, normalizer, cleansing, data quality rules, deduplicates. There are just few. There are like hundreds of these pre-built transformations. So you can drag and drop into your canvas, connect your source and target, and do any complex transformations and run them directly. So that way, it's fairly simple to use. You don't have to use any sophisticated code. It's all no-code interface that even business analysts can use.
Can you chat a little bit? We had a few people wondering about, and Sumit mentioned some compliance. Obviously, that's something that a lot of people are in industries that they're thinking about that. So, for example, Kevin here is wondering if you could dig in a little bit more to how Informatica's data governance solution is going to help maintain that compliance and security in a cloud environment.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sumit initially mentioned about IDMC, which is Informatica's data management platform. As part of that, we have it's not just data integration. It includes data governance, data privacy, data marketplace, including our MDM solutions, all hosted on the cloud. So the governance includes the governance portfolio or suite of products includes things like data catalog, data lineage. So a data steward or data administrator can actually define out-of-the-box policies or even custom policies on who and what and where they can consume or view the data set. So, and can be done at a very granular level, at the record level, so that you can enforce your data governance policies and then also democratize access for those data sets.
Okay. We had a few questions here in several different ways, kind of wondering, really what makes Informatica stand out, what makes them unique, how do they compare in the sort of larger environment that we're in. So can you just give us an idea, in your opinion, what does make your solution stand out? What is the sort of key unique?
Yeah, I think first of all, I will start off with the breadth of expertise in data management. So we're not like a point solutions which does only ETL or ELT, but we provide a breadth, right from especially when you're working with large data sets, you want to catalog the data, you want to understand the lineage of the data set, you want to govern the data set. And once you've identified the data set, you need to be able to ingest the data at scale through a variety of means, whether it's through mass ingestion capabilities or batch load streaming capabilities or real-time processing. But once you do that, you also need capabilities to use data prep for your business analytics, so you can connect to any of those tools. One of our key strengths is we are independent, right? So we play very well with AWS, Azure, Snowflake, GCP, Databricks, and you name the vendor, like including Oracle, right? So we are elite partners for all these hyperscalers out there, and we are able to connect to both traditional on-prem sources as well as new age sources on the cloud. And you can use the same development canvas for any type of workload. So that's what makes Informatica unique, I would say.
That's a lot of good reasons to be excited about Informatica. Vivin, I wish we could keep going. We are running a bit short on time, but before we let you go, first, I do want to say you've gotten some great high fives from the audience out there. Michael wanted to thank you and Samit for a great presentation with some great data. Heiko has said thanks for the links. There's definitely a lot of appreciation for the answers that people have gotten today. But as we are running out of time, I want to ask you, Vivin, for somebody out there that is ready to get started, they want to jump in or learn a little bit more about Informatica, what do they do? What is their first step?
Yeah, definitely. You can use our links out there that's shared in this guide. You can use those gets to learn about our offering. We also have a lot of customer case studies posted on our website. We also have free trial, and some of these are we have both free data loader offering, which is free for life, as well as we have free 30-day trials for all of our products, everything accessible from informatica.com, so you can use that to try it out, and feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to entertain your questions and guide you through the right resources to make you successful.
Absolutely, yeah, and I can definitely attest. Every conversation I've had with your team has been a pleasant and positive one, and always informative. Vivin, thank you so much for being here with us today, and to Samit as well for some great information. We appreciate both of your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, and thank you to everyone who filled out that poll. I'm actually going to switch really quickly, so if you haven't clicked on the poll, do that now. Giving you your last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to head on back over to those links because I want to make sure that you guys all got a chance to click on the links there. So please do take a minute now, click on those links if you haven't already. I'm also going to recommend that you head on over to the Handouts tab. You can download the white paper from Informatica, Avoiding Cloud Data Cost Overruns. I mean, that is what we are here for. Optimize cloud deployments for improved performance, and bottom line, it is a really interesting read that's going to walk you through, kind of taking a look at your organization's cloud goals, and also maybe where sometimes the ideas we have don't actually match up to the reality. What we sort of think is going to happen when we start building our cloud environment doesn't actually take shape in reality, or it's much more expensive than we thought it was going to be. So this white paper is going to walk through how to use some tools in tech, especially AI, real-time visibility, and cloud-native architecture. All of that's going to help you get a little bit more out of your cloud infrastructure. So this is a very informative and interesting read. Please do take a minute and grab that white paper before you head out. And I'm going to leave that linked page up there. And let's go ahead and give away some prizes. Okay, so we have two more gift cards if you were counting along at home. We've only given away one. We said there was 3, so now there's going to be 2 $500 Amazon gift cards. You do need to be here live, present at the EcoCast in order to win. Our next winner of a $500 Amazon gift card today is Ali Imran of California. Ali Imran of California. And then our last winner of a $500 Amazon gift card is Alvin Ross of Nevada. Alvin Ross of Nevada. All right, I'm going to read through all of our lucky winners here today. We are giving one to Joe Schaefer of Minnesota. We are giving one to Ali Imran of California and Alvin Ross of Nevada. As always, we'll be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap up the webinar today. Don't forget about those best question cards. We'll be giving one away to somebody in each session. So if you did get a question in today, you are automatically entered for that. And also, please keep in mind that we will be sending all of those questions over again to the Synology team, to the Informatica team, so you will get answers back. And I have to say, I really appreciate the level of questions that we got today. It was a really interesting conversation with all of you. All right, well, speaking of interesting conversations, if you're here at the EcoCast today and you're thinking, hey, this would be fun, I'd like to sit around and hang out with Jess and Scott and David, yeah, I can tell you, we have a good time. We would like to chat with you too, so please join in this conversation. If you would like to present at an EcoCast, a MegaCast, a Summit, a webinar, a Panelcast, a DemoCast, you name it, come hang out with us. You can reach out via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com, and we'll set up a time to kind of get that rolling. Well, with that, I'm going to move on over here. There we go. I do want to say a big thank you on behalf of Actual Tech Media team to all of our fascinating speakers, those that we had from Synology and then the two folks from Informatica. What an incredible amount of information and really making this EcoCast possible by providing so many answers and discussion points for all of us today. On that note, a special thank you to all of you out there for attending, for asking some great questions. I really do enjoy getting to chat with you folks every week, multiple times a week in this case, lucky me. And of course, when we're talking about reducing costs to your organizations, this is not a small thing. A fear of those high costs could be the thing that's preventing your organization from potentially taking on new technologies that it needs to meet its goals, to expand, to grow. And that's huge. Or potentially a debilitating high bill that has come your way. It could be something that your team is still recovering from. So these are big roadblocks, big potential roadblocks, and also on the flip side, giant opportunities. So I hope today that maybe you've been able to reframe some of those things that were feeling a bit scary or overwhelming into that opportunity. And I think we can all benefit from learning how to build these IT environments that we need, that we want, without breaking our budgets. Now, if you're feeling excited about building up your organization's infrastructure, I am highly, highly, highly going to suggest that you come back and join us tomorrow. Wow, I can't believe tomorrow is already Friday. That's January 20th for an expert series. Now, if you loved our keynote, guess who's coming back tomorrow? Howard will be back chatting with Scott Becker, and they will be discussing architecting the enterprise for remote work, remote offices, and cloud data. How cool is that? I know I will be listening in on the edge of my seat. I'm very excited about this one. So please do come join us. It's going to be an absolutely essential conversation for anyone that has hybrid or remote workforce in their team, in their organization, or on the radar for the future. So again, that's this Friday, January 20th, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Please do come join us there. Now, whether it's an expert series on Friday or another one in the future, if it's an EcoCast, a MegaCast, a Summit, whatever, I do hope that I get to see you all again soon. I hope we get to chat and continue these conversations. And until then, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day.